Hello, everybody. My name is Stephen Trevathan. I am the Chief Marketing Officer at a law firm in Florida. And this is my first video for a new channel that I'm working on. This is kind of a passion project for me, but I'm hoping to stick with it. And by sticking with it, my goal is to actually create videos that are of value to an audience, and this audience would be anyone that is trying to figure out how to improve their marketing for their law firm, which with as many law firms that are out there and how competitive it's become, especially given you're in a practice area like we are, where our law firm has 4 practice areas, one of them being personal injury, which is extremely competitive. It's part of the reason I wanted to join and be in-house at this law firm, but I will go into that a bit in the rest of this video. But either way, the purpose of this channel, the goal I have for this channel is to create videos where I am essentially just talking about what I'm trying to do. So my background being digital marketing, that is going to be a big part of it, but I'm going to be expanding into just talking about all sorts of different things that we're trying here. What's working, what's not. I am an open book as a person, so this is really the purpose of this. Especially starting out, this is the first video. If I continue with this and hopefully actually get some viewers, then great, people will see this and see how messy it is to start this type of thing. But that's kind of what I'm hoping to achieve here is I really don't need to have videos that are super clean cut. I just want to be able to provide some value. But if you've asked someone that's tried to do videos before, one of the things that I've always struggled, because I've tried to make this a regular thing in the past, is overthinking what I'm trying to present in the video. So really, this is a messy, the purpose of the channel is to have a messy insight into what I'm doing as an actual chief marketing officer at a real law firm in Florida, what I've tried and hasn't worked, what I'm finding is working, and I'm taking to a new level, how I'm scaling, and so just sharing insights and talking about it, and so so that is the purpose of this channel. But so as a introduction to myself and where I'm coming from, and if you find these videos, why in addition to what I've talked about as my current role, other reasons to continue to watch and listen to what I have to say is, I have an interesting background, which is digital marketing. So, I actually got into digital marketing back in 2011, and ironically, that was because after I graduated college, which was that year, my plan at the time was to go to law school. One of my really good friends was his goal, from freshman year. He knew exactly what he was going to do. I, throughout college, had really no idea what I wanted to do. I ended up doing finance, and you learn some things that are beneficial there, but I really don't use that degree for anything in my career. But I had been influenced by my friend who had this goal set for becoming a lawyer, and so with that as an inspiration, with that as somebody that was kind of giving me some, was helping me in terms of trying to figure out what I want to do, especially as we came to the end. I was like, what, why not take on the challenge of doing law school? So I did take the LSAT, and I actually did get into a couple law schools. I wasn't really a great student, so I already had to take out student loans to finish college, and I did get into law school, but I was not looking at any scholarships or any of that stuff. I was just looking at having to take out a bunch more loans in order to finish law school. So once I got into law school, I was like, okay, well, I would like to get some job experience in between, because I graduated in 2011, and I took the LSAT in October of 2011. So I was looking at starting law school in the fall of 2012. And with that, I was like, okay, I got time in between. get some job experience and try to make a little bit of money too. And I actually ended up working as a paid intern for a guy who did digital marketing. So now, being honest here, I had the fortunate opportunity that this was someone that was happening to come to a clinical research company. And at the time, that was where my dad was working. So my dad actually was able to talk to this guy and say, hey, look, my son recently graduated from college and is looking for, some job experience. Are you interested in potentially talking to him? And so I interviewed with the guy. He was willing to give me a shot, essentially as like a paid intern to start. And he and I started working together, and he was actually ended up becoming a really good mentor for me. So, over the course of that year, by the time we were getting to the summer of 2012, we had been working together a few months, and he actually ended up kind of making me an interesting pitch, which was, we were ramping up. So he was a type of person that was a bit of a perfectionist, but he really, as someone that, especially for me, as just someone who was not a great student, I skipped class a lot. I looked to cut corners in school. I was it just didn't grab me. I didn't feel invested. And when it came to starting to work with this guy, I remember early on, one of the first months that I was working with him, I think it was like literally the first month. Like he assigned me out the tasks I had to do, and when I was working with him, I was living in Tallahassee. He was living in Orlando, so we met up so early on we would meet up a little bit more regularly, but I wasn't in an office with him or anything like that. So he essentially was assigning me tasks with the expectation that once the task was detailed to me, like he'd walk me through how to do it, that I was on my own to really make sure I got my stuff done. I remember that first or second month, I didn't get everything done that I was supposed to. And I remember having that conversation with him, and he's like, okay, well, I'm going to pay you for what you did get done. And I'm going to tell you this right now. If you do this again, I'm going to let you go, because I just don't have time for this type of thing. And that type of conversation really was impactful for me. I mean, it kind of sounds a little brutal, but honestly, it was, for someone with the mindset I had at the time, it really woke me up. And so he really did he became a mentor. He really challenged me in terms of my thought process when it came to work, especially just with digital marketing. He set a framework for me that I've used to this day, and just how I apply myself to challenges. So, that was something that was big. So he did end up giving me kind of an interesting pitch in the summer. So we had gotten to a better place, and things were working, and we were kind of really moving, and he was seeing some potential working with me. So I remember, I'll never forget this. He said, all right, well, Stephen, I know that the plan is that you're going to be going to law school in the fall, but I'm going to give you something else to consider. Now, you can go to law school and become another lawyer, which is fine. But I know you're looking at having to take a lot of student loans, and that's going to make things interesting when you get through law school and have to start. So my offer is this. If you decide not to go to law school, you can continue working with me. I'm going to give you a grad school education in digital marketing, and I'm going to pay you the entire time. Honestly, that ending is exact. I remember that word for word. That will always stick with me. Well, not just just the way he phrased that. That was big. And yeah, I mean, I remember it was a tough decision. Especially even though I was looking at pretty significant student loans. That path of like, okay, well, you did all this work to, I took a course on how to do better at the LSAT and did all that stuff, and I actually applied and got into a couple law schools, and so you got a whole path here that even though with the student loans it's at least a little bit more defined as what's going to happen, with digital marketing, especially at that time, I was looking at like, well, I was liking the work we were doing, and I could definitely see the potential, but it was totally still very new to me. So it was kind of I didn't really have an idea of, if I chose that path, like where it would take me. But there was something enticing about it. And as I'm sitting here talking to you now, obviously what I did do was choose not to go to law school. I ended up going and pursuing this path of digital marketing as a career. And through the ups and downs, because especially those first few years, it was difficult. I wasn't making a lot of money starting out, and the career took me to San Francisco for a couple of years, working with my mentor there. Unfortunately, we were working at a startup, and that just didn't work out, and we split. We parted ways when we were out there. Actually, there's a whole story there that's kind of interesting, that maybe depending on how I want these videos to go, maybe I'll do another video where I go into that more. But honestly, really the big thing for this channel is I stuck it out in digital marketing, and through the years, ironically, it's brought me back to this place where now I am in-house at a law firm, and because the thing that's cool about it, especially again, in law, coming in-house, so I've been in-house at this agency, at this law firm, since October of 2021. And a lot of the things that some of the more interesting things I've learned since being here is, what it takes to grow a law firm and to keep a law firm profitable. So really the business of a law practice has been really interesting. Since being in-house, I used to work at agency before this, and for a long period of my time, even before that, I was working on my own and just had my own kind of smaller agency and had my own clients. So that was what I was used to. But one of the things that really led me to wanting to pivot and actually being in-house with a law firm like this opportunity, when this opportunity came along, was I was just getting frustrated with essentially, not feeling like I had enough time to drive the change that I wanted. There's different ways to, I guess, approach a digital marketing campaign, and what you're trying to get out of it. I mean, if you're the one that's developing it, so if you're in an agency, like that aspect of balancing your time across your different clients is difficult. And I struggle with it a lot because I always felt like I was getting super invested in just figuring out the why, the problem solving. And to me, that's the big thing about digital marketing. It's actually kind of like one of the big reasons I want to have a channel like this where I can talk about this stuff, because I do find that stuff fascinating, like the problem solving and the level of effort you have to put into certain things to really figure out why these things work the way they do, and how people will respond, and especially I think for an audience for this channel, at least starting out, our law firm's growing, but we're still on the smaller side. We don't have a huge budget, so I'm working with a budget of roughly around $25,000 a month, and I am spreading that across a myriad of different marketing channels. So these are things I want to talk about in this channel. So again, in my rambling story over here, I wanted to provide at least a little sense of where I'm coming from, and what's led me to this place, and give you some insight into the things I want to be talking about. So on this channel, I think the videos that I want to make are, I want to talk about what I'm experimenting with right now. So again, if you aren't using AI tools like, again, ChatGPT or Jasper, Mid-Journey, or if you're not even getting into that yet and experimenting with the possibilities there, you're gonna have to get onto it. We're gonna talk about that, because I'm constantly trying new things with that. I'm gonna want to talk about things like my opinions on modern content marketing, SEO, what I feel is working, what's working for us, what I think isn't working, some of the experiments I've been trying. That's actually some of my where my deepest subject matter expertise lies is search engine optimization and content marketing. But what we're doing from a paid media acquisition perspective, social media, our strategy, I'm constantly evolving it. What we're doing with videos, I spent 8 months over the course of last year, literally 8 months, testing and trying a different version of essentially building a process for doing short form videos that I've now stopped doing, and I'm pivoting into wanting to do more of a long form video strategy, but learned a lot from doing that. I want to talk about that. A big thing that I'm going to want to continuously come back to in the channel is the aspect of developing processes internally and how important that is. My vision for coming in house here with the firm was, how do I develop an internal marketing agency at the firm, at a more cost efficient, in the most cost efficient way possible. Because again, and this is something, this will go back, this harkens back to me just making this type of a pitch to clients when I was talking to them about it. It's hard to figure out what's going to work and what's not without spending money, right? I mean, that's the thing. You don't know. And, we're charting uncharted waters here. When it comes to if everything you've tried, if you're watching this, then the things that you've tried didn't work, right? So, and unfortunately that creates that sense, that like negative viewpoint on things as a whole. So maybe now I'm kind of almost getting a little bit philosophical here, but maybe another element that I think will be beneficial of doing more of these videos is showing just, by trying to give like a raw look at what my process is. Hopefully it just kind of gives you a perspective of, you just have to keep at it. Things oftentimes don't work, and you're gonna have to pivot, or you're gonna have to scrap things, and you're gonna be banging your head against the wall because stuff is just that hard sometimes. And sometimes things work out really well. I mean, you'd be surprised, but yeah, I mean, a lot of stuff. And hell, other things I'm gonna want to talk about is too, like how if you're watching these videos and you're in-house, methods I've found to motivate the attorneys, motivate the partners at the firm, motivate the staff, because every single person at your firm is a valuable asset to your marketing strategy. So whether you're the partner of the firm watching this, or you are an in-house marketing person, leveraging and like getting people bought in on the idea of what your vision is important. And that's going to be something I'm going to be talking about a good bit in these videos as well. So either way, I mean, I think that should serve as a good introduction to what I'm trying to do with this channel. But yeah, it's gonna be messy. I was open about this at the beginning of the video, I believe, but I've wanted to do regular videos for a long time, and I've started and stopped before. But I think my issues, I've been trying to overthink the presentation, so these are going to be a little messy, at least to start. As I'm figuring out this process as I'm doing it and sharing it. So hopefully this means something. Hopefully you get something from these. But either way, this is my first video. Welcome to my channel that's still unnamed as of the recording of this. But yeah, my name's Trevathan, and I appreciate you watching. Thank you.